Someone on your team is struggling with something, and everything inside you wants to step in and fix it because you know the answer. You could probably solve it in 30 seconds, and watching them fumble around is almost painful. So, what do? You grab the work back, you fix it, you get it done, and you feel like you're leading, like you're actually helping. This example is the single most common way leaders accidentally keep their best talent small. Let me show you a better way with a picture that you'll never forget. I'm Jayson Krause. I authored the book, The Science Behind Success, and I coach executives and I train leaders to lead like coaches. And out of everything I teach, this is the one image people come back to me about years later, because once you see it, you'll catch yourself doing the wrong thing in real time, which is a good thing. It's exactly the point. So I want you to picture a high performance weight room. Heavy barbells clinking together, someone lying down on the bench press, about to push themselves to their absolute limit. There's real weight, there's real strain going on. Now, who's the most important person in this image? If we think about the growth and development, well, most people will say the person lifting the weight. And for sure, ultimately, it comes down to their effort and their drive. But there's a second person we almost always overlook. It's the person standing behind the bench press, and it's the one that we call the spotter. The spotter doesn't lift the weight, but the spotter determines whether that lifter grows, whether they stall, or whether they get hurt. And how you show up as a leader is exactly how you show up as a spotter. So let me show you the two kinds, because absolutely you're one of them. The question is which one? And I'll warn you, most well-meaning leaders are the first kind of spotter without realizing it. And we call that the bad spotter. The bad spotter is someone who really isn't present. They're distracted, and honestly, they spend too much of their time half checking themselves out in the mirror, seeing the reflection of themselves in the mirror around them. They're not paying attention to the lifter's actual effort. And what happens is the moment the lifter starts to struggle, the moment the bar gets stuck or slows down, then this type of spotter panics, they swoop in, they grab the bar, and they rack it. So here's the thing. The lift got done. The bar went up and it went down, but no growth happened. The lifter really didn't get as strong as they should because the spotter stole the rep in the exact moment it mattered. The whole point was the struggle, and the bad spotter erased it. And that's exactly what happens when you swoop in and solve your team's problem. The problem, sure, it gets solved. The bar goes up and down, but your team member didn't grow because you stole the lift. And you did it because watching them struggle or being present with them in the space of struggle was uncomfortable for you. You chose to steal the lift. Now, that's a bad spotter. Let's talk about a great spotter. The great spotter is wonderfully present. They're locked in. They're not touching the bar. They're encouraging, reminding the lifter why they are capable. And they call them forth when it gets heavy. And when the lifter really starts to grind, a great spotter doesn't grab the bar. They let them stay in that critical space of struggle. They're not going to lift a single ounce until the risk gets genuinely too high. And even then, they just give enough to keep it safe and not an ounce more. So the effort always stays with the person pushing the weight. That's it. That's transformational leadership made physical. The great spotter lets the lifter experience the struggle, the challenge, the difficulty, because the difficulty is the exact thing that's going to make them stronger. Here's the line I want you to tattoo on your brain. Accelerated growth happens on the razor-thin line between struggle and support. The people you work with need to know two things at the same time. One, you're there for them. You're present. You're in their corner. You're not going to let them get crushed by the responsibility that you put on them. And two, you expect them to do the heavy lifting. The sweat, the strain, the figuring it out, both at once. That's the whole craft. That's the mystery that we're here to solve in our careers. And that's what committed to growth looks like. So next time someone brings you a problem and you feel that itch or that impulse to grab the bar, pause. Ask yourself, if I solve this right now, do I just complete a transaction or does this person actually grow? Most of the time, the most powerful thing you can do is stay present, hold the tension, and let them push through it. And while they know that you've got them because you're asking the right questions and giving them a level of presence that matters. Now, this doesn't mean that you never help them. A great spotter does step in when the risk gets too high, but it's the last resort, not your default reflex. Right now, for most leaders, it's the reflex, and I want you to flip it. Don't steal the lift. When you stop stealing reps, two things happen. The people on your team get visibly stronger. They start solving things that they used to bring to you, and you stop being the one carrying every load, which means you stop being the bottleneck. The same shift seen from the weight room. If this metaphor stuck, and it tends to with leaders, then subscribe to the channel because this is part of what I teach in the whole craft of a coach. If this metaphor stuck and it tends to, then subscribe because this is how I teach the whole craft of coach-led leadership. Now, being a great spotter comes down to two specific skills: how you listen and how you ask questions. Those are the tools that let you support without stealing the lift. And I break the first one down in another video I'll link in the description. And tell me in the comments, when's the last time you stole a rep from someone on your team? I know I've done it. Let's be honest about it together. And I'll see you in the next video.